Hello, my name is Elaine Leeder, and this is a podcast called From Despair to Repentance: Jews, Spirituality, Prisons, and Restorative Justice. This program is sponsored by the Institute for Jewish Spirituality and Society, where I am a fellow. The mission of IJSS is to advance scholarship, social transformation, bringing Jewish spiritual knowledge to bear on the toughest challenges of contemporary society. We break down barriers between spheres of knowledge and practice, enabling long-term collaboration among scholars, social researchers, and human service practitioners. Please visit us at www.ijss.org to find out more about what we do. In my capacity as a fellow, I've been speaking around the country about restorative justice using a Jewish spiritual lens. This year marks our first year with podcasts, bringing to you people who are engaging in the work on the ground with real people, but imbuing what they do with a spiritual practice. To that end, today I am lucky enough to be interviewing Dr. Eli DeWitt, who is a rabbi and education coordinator for Matir Asurim, Jewish Care Network for Incarcerated People. Rabbi Eli works with network members to create and share educational and spiritual resources that are relevant to incarcerated people and to all of us who wish to learn how people live Jewish lives inside prisons. Rabbi Eli draws on the wisdom of Jewish traditions and the strength of the entire Matir Azurim network to envision and enact creative ways of learning, face to face, panim, el panim, in deep reciprocal relationship, despite the challenges presented by the carceral system. She, Rabbi Eli is a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and a Reconstructionist rabbinical college. Rabbi Eli learns and teaches in the lineages of queer, trans, feminist, multiracial, and multi-faith movements for justice. Rabbi Eli has experience offering pastoral care and accompaniment of people of LGBTQIA plus experiences, individuals impacted by the carceral system, young adults, people living with disabilities, and parents and caretakers of young children, in addition to their organizing with Matir Azurim. uh, Rabbi Eli co-directs Ziman, Liberatory Jewish Learning for Every Kid, a Jewish education program that centers play, creative expression, and the children's questions. In Simchat Diaspora, a curriculum, writing, and coaching project that serves families and communities who are growing Jewish learning where they live. Rabbi Eli was born and raised in Durham, North Carolina, and they are thrilled to be back in their hometown where they now are raising their adorable preschool-aged kid and playing their part in their large multi-generational family and community. I'm honored to introduce Rabbi Eli. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Elaine.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with a series of questions, and we can elaborate upon them as we move along in the questioning.
Great.
So I did an extensive introduction, but I'd like to know more about your organization and what is it that you all do, as well as where are you located? So let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here as the education coordinator and rabbi of Matir Asurim, the Jewish Care Network for Incarcerated People. And for those that don't know, Matir Asurim is something that we call God in the Amidah, one of the most central prayers in Jewish prayer practice, and it refers to God as the one who frees the captives. So we are in the already in the spirituality sphere by drawing from Jewish liturgy to talk about the work that we do to connect with people about Judaism when they are incarcerated, when they are not free to be in society like the rest of our community. Um, and we are actually a nationwide program. We're really international. We serve people all over the US and Canada from coast to coast. So, wide reach.
I see. And tell me about your client group. Who is it that you serve?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, we serve anyone who is interested in learning more about Judaism. A lot of times, those people are already Jewish or exploring Jewish identity as a potential convert. And those people are incarcerated. For ease of communication, we refer to our members of our network who are incarcerated as inside members. It's kind of a colloquialism for being in prison, being inside. And we refer to members of our network who are not in prison as outside members. And so our inside members are primarily incarcerated. Mostly in prisons, so in state and federal custody across the US, and come to us looking for Jewish resources, which we define as spiritual and educational resources about Jewish topics from history to culture to spiritual topics to questions about Jewish law. And they're interested in integrating that into their lives in some way. And then we have outside members who come to us for support, either supporting a member of their community who is inside. So that might be a family member who is hoping that their family member who is incarcerated could have some more Jewish resources or greetings around the holidays, or perhaps a prison chaplain who is hoping to better serve Jewish residents at their facility. Maybe they're Jewish themselves and they just want, to connect with other Jews working in the prison system, or maybe they're a Jewish chaplain who's not familiar, or a chaplain who serves Jews but isn't personally familiar with Judaism. Folks will reach out to us and get education and resources from us to better support their residents. And then finally, we work with Jewish communities who are want to learn more about why prison is a Jewish issue, and maybe include learning about the prison system and how to support Jews who are in prison in their congregational or Jewish organizational life.
I'm curious, we'll go back to the work that you do, but how did you get into this line of work? It's a rather esoteric or small little niche audience.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I had the luck of being invited by a now colleague. We were both students at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, who went on to be one of the founders, actually, of Matir Asurim, Rabbi Jessica Rosenberg, and she was serving as the convener, rabbinic, like student rabbi of a small congregation at a state prison about an hour outside of Philadelphia. And I visited with her to do Shabbat services and met the congregation, and really enjoyed meeting them. And that sort of planted a seed for me that I might be interested in prison chaplaincy. And I started organizing as a volunteer with Matir Asurim in, I think, 2022. And then ended up taking this position in Matir Asurim's first round of creating some staff positions upon graduation in 2024. So it's sort of been a part of my it was a part of my rabbinical school journey, and yeah, and in general, personally, I'm also just passionate about like finding the places where we can broaden our sense of what is Jewish community and better meet our communities where they're at. And so I'm always thinking about who are the people who are being left out of mainstream definitions of Jewish community. And, incarcerated people are a part of Jewish community too. And so it feels like a natural role for me to be a part of the conversation and breaking down the barriers that keep us from living Jewish life with all members of our community.
So, how about if you tell me in detail some of the situations with which you've dealt? Case examples, of course, confidentially, but tell me some of
Yeah,
them.
definitely, yes, and, just for everyone to know, these are all gonna be broad examples, not specific to any one person, kind of combining characteristics. I do work confidentially with all of our members the same way that I would if I was a pulpit rabbi and someone was coming to my office, to maintain, confidentiality in almost all situations. So some broad illustrations, would be a someone who is incarcerated and perhaps was invited on a random afternoon to a Shabbat study session with a volunteer. Maybe it was an opportunity for them to, get to leave their dorm or their cell block and go do something. And so they went with a friend and got uh, interested in what they heard. Not dissimilar to how someone might get interested in Judaism outside of a prison, where they get invited to a seder and then they just can't stop thinking about it, and it plants a seed of interest. And so sometimes Matir Asurim is the first point of contact for someone who is exploring Judaism as a potential convert. So maybe they write to a family member and say, I went to this class and I just can't stop thinking about it and I want to learn more about Judaism. And then their family member might Google and find us and send us an email, and we would help them become part of our community, which could be setting them up with a pen pal. Adding them to our Jewish resources mailing list, so they would receive, resources for studying and prayer. Sometimes we receive, very specific questions, and we try to support people in navigating how to, enroll in the kosher food program or other things that support them to live a Jewish life in prison. Um, we also have folks who have been living Jewishly for many years and are struggling to find a spiritual community in their facility. Maybe they're the only Jew who's there, or maybe the only Jew with other overlapping identities who's there. They might say, I really want to connect with another Black Jew, and I don't have that in my living space. And so that's an instance where we may want to help someone find a specific pen pal who they can relate to on both Jewish and non Jewish topics. And they have the opportunity to also become a part of our community by contributing materials to our resources and sharing their writing and their experience of being a Jew that we can amplify into the world and bring into the broader sphere of Jewish learning. That's hugely important to us too. Like, Jews who are inside prison are certainly in need of resources, because the prison system doesn't offer people adequate resources to live rich spiritual lives in a lot of cases. But they also have Torah and Jewish wisdom to offer all of us on the outside. And so um, I'm constantly in conversation with members who want to share their writing or their learning with the outside community, and then trying to bring people into conversation. So those are just a couple of examples.
And who do you define as Jewish, since that is always a controversial question?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, for the purposes of Matir Asurim's programming, we serve anyone who is interested in Judaism, regardless of if they self identify as Jewish or not. And we accept people's self identification. So, as Jewish, we do not question people's Jewish identities or ask them for proof in any form. And we know also that our membership probably has diverse ideas of who is a Jew and who isn't. And we just ask that when people are, interacting through our services, that we're receiving people as they are, trusting them to define their own identity and going from there. And if people are authentically interested in what we offer, we embrace their interest and them as a person.
And I'm curious, there's being Jewish by doing ritual or by reading, but have you found that there is the experience of touching a spiritual nature through this kind of work? Are people touched deeply by not just the practice, but the ideas and the experience?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, I think a great example is our pen pal program. We have, I think, maybe like 60, 70 plus pen pal pairs right now. And the pen pal relationships range from people who study together, like study Jewish texts together, to people who talk regularly about any topic but Judaism, but are both Jews and connected through a Jewish program and are building a relationship under that sort of heading. And I think within all of those relationships, there is an incredible spiritual uh, interface that happens between those two people. I'm thinking about the teaching, the Jewish mystical teaching that when two people study together, the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence of God, is between the Chavruta pair, between the two studying with each other, and that's something about their energy of focusing on learning together and maybe even disagreeing and everything they're both bringing to the interaction draws in this like presence of God, of the universe, of the of the everything. And I think that's the case with our pen pal program because maybe people aren't studying a text together, but both people are going to great lengths to connect with each other and to like connect under complex circumstances, to problem solve, being in a relationship where there are so many things separating them. And I just think that that act has such incredible spiritual significance for the people who are doing it and for all of us, because it's an act of trust, it's an act of bravery, to get to know someone. And I think a lot about how much that's offering all of us.
Have you had that experience yourself?
I have. I'm really lucky to have an amazing pen pal. I have a couple of folks that I correspond with, and yeah, just really, really enjoy the conversations that we have, and have gotten to know my pen pal, and have gotten to know my pen pals community, like the folks that he prays with in his facility and lives a Jewish life with, and even some of his family members. And so it's a very, um, it's a great relationship. And he just teaches me. It's like any study partner where I feel challenged by him, and I also feel like I learn new things about the way my brain works and how I think about text. So yeah, we have a very nerdy pen pal back and forth. We're both Jewish text nerds, and it's very, very fun.
Is it very difficult for your folks to be Jewish in prison? What kind of experiences have you heard about?
Yeah, I think yes, in that it is life in prison is hard. Life in prison or in jail, it is, as you know intimately, people are really given the bare minimum to sustain life. And that oftentimes, unfortunately, includes like what religious life looks like, which is sort of just enough to do it, but not this abundance that we might dream of, where people have access to ritual materials and time to do what they need to do. I think a couple of examples of what's challenging is, it's extremely difficult to get on a kosher diet. That's something that has to go through many levels of approval. Not having access to materials needed to do daily ritual practices. So, hand washing, that's probably not something where you're going to have all the things that you need and be allowed to have them in your personal living space. Um, Isolation. So much of Jewish practice is meant to be done in community. So anything ranging from, like I said, feeling alone in their Jewish identity to, God forbid, being in solitary confinement and literally being physically alone. And that can make it extremely hard to feel yourself as part of a broader Jewish community in your day to day or in general. And access to appropriate religious texts is also sometimes difficult. Jews don't always have access to a Tanakh, a like Jewish Bible, for lack of a better term. They might be given, a King James Bible and told to just pay attention to the Old Testament part. But that's not a Jewish text. That's not a Jewish translation. That's not the what we would want them to have access to. So, I mean, those are just a few of the challenges.
Do you have trouble getting materials in, or are they allowed?
Yes and no. They are allowed, and there are just many, many rules, as there are with like prison life in general. And so that is a part of what we do that you maybe wouldn't see someone at like a neighborhood synagogue or a JCC doing as a part of providing access to Jewish life. Is we have to devote quite a bit of time to um, working with like the prison mail system to figure out the best way to get resources to people. So that means learning the rules for like how big of a margin you need to put on a piece of paper before you mail it so it doesn't get cut off when it's scanned in. That means knowing what are approved places that you can send books from. You can send books from like an approved bookseller, like a company, but there are restrictions and stuff like that. And sometimes it's about like, can we develop relationships with chaplains who can support us in getting things into the prison, which we have a bunch of amazing chaplains that we work with who are sort of doing this work as well locally in their own place. And so we might work with them to say like, hey, how can we support you in supporting your residents? Or we made this resource, do you want to print it out? So there's a lot of creative problem solving on our part, and then also on our residents' part, to figure out what are their goals, what do they want, and they do incredible, innovative Jewish um, work to live the Jewish lives that they do inside. So I get to learn a lot from them about that as
How
well.
many folks would you say that you touch or reach in some capacity in a given year, perhaps?
Yeah, so this past year, our mailing list has grown to like close to 150 people who receive monthly resources from us right now in the form of like a monthly resource about living a Jewish life during the day. So going over rituals of like morning, afternoon, evening. And then we do holiday mailers as well. We released a calendar, a Jewish calendar this year for the first time that meets prison um, calendar standards. So yeah, close to 150 people, and then we have like 60 to 70 people on um, our pen pal program, and then yeah, and then just folks who reach out to us across the year. So probably, we're in any given time in touch with like 150 to 200 people across the US and Canada.
When were you founded? How long has this been in existence now?
2021. So it's actually a really young organization.
And hoping to expand, I assume, and reach further.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about the program or the people or yourself relating to this so that I can get a fuller picture of what's going on?
Um, I think the other thing is just I was talking about this a bit earlier in regards to outside members that we serve, but Jewish people in prisons, people interested in Judaism who are incarcerated have just incredible Torah to offer all of us that's relevant to our own lives. And I think something I wanted to share about was that we actually did our first class that had enrollees who were both incarcerated and not incarcerated. It was called Torah from the Inside Out, and we did it in collaboration with a online forward yeshiva called Yeshiva Shalmala. And I it's not something that's been done before, so I had to make up all the terminology around it, I mean, to my knowledge. So we called it a hybrid correspondence course, which for us meant that we had a group of folks on the outside who met live on Zoom monthly for 6 months. And then we had a group of folks inside who were pen pal, Havruta, with someone who was on the outside in the class, and we were all studying the same texts, and the month between the classes gave time for folks on the inside to study and send in their thoughts, and then those of us on the outside would hear from the chavruta who had spoken to their inside chavruta. I would kind of collate the material that our pen pals sent in and put it on a presentation, and we would learn their Torah. Um, and it was just awesome. I mean, it was just a great class with amazing Torah and a great teaching team. There were four of us teaching, two rabbis, two amazing Jewish educators, an amazing class of folks all across the country who just committed to this cohort of learning. And my pen pal was studying with his chevra, his community inside, and they would get together for text study, and then he would send me a report of what they had studied about and say, this person had this opinion and this person had this opinion, and well, this we disagreed about this. And I by the end I told him, I was like, this reads like a part of Jewish text tradition. This is like, or this is oral Torah in action. Like, this. So at the end of the course, some of the teaching team invited us to create um, a an expression of our learning. So I actually took one of my correspondences with my chavruta and put it like into a page, like a daf of Talmud, a page of Talmud. So our source text, the Mishnah that we studied in the middle, and then his chavruta inside, all of the men, things that he shared with me that they said on the sides, which was a combination of interpretation of the text and also their experience that they were having in prison as related to the text. It was we were studying Mishnah Rosh Hashanah, and so there were some things he was sharing with me about what their Rosh Hashanah was going to look like. How was how were the things that were happening in the prison going to impact their Rosh Hashanah observance? And that is the Torah of our people too, sharing like firsthand here's how I'm living my Jewish life under these circumstances. And that is an ancestral tradition. So many of our ancestors who, made the oral Torah happen, what they were doing was saying, here's how I'm making my Jewish life happen. Perhaps from a place of great restriction, right? Like under empire, sometimes in prison themselves. We read about Rabbi Akiva in prison. Like we, these, these moments are a part of our great chain of tradition, and I feel just really blessed to be a part of it. And I want it for our whole community to deepen our study
Quite
inside.
remarkable, actually, as you describe it, under the most constrained of circumstances, being able to engage in such deep thought and learning. It's powerful. Very,
Yeah, yeah, it was really, really, really powerful and really fun.
congratulations. Very
Thank
well done.
you,
I
thank
might
you.
have to become one of your pen pal connectors or something.
Please, yes, yes,
On your mailing list. This is my kind of work.
yes, please.
So, Rabbi Eli, is there anything else you'd like to tell us beyond what we've covered?
No, I think this is great. It's wonderful to get to share about the work and to connect with others, who are thinking about this and connecting the work of our lives to our Jewish internal lives. And yeah, I'm excited to learn more from the podcast.
Well, good. And it will be up soon. And I'll send you the link so you'll be able to hear yourself and watch and maybe share it further with others.
Thank you so much.
So, Rabbi Eli DeWitt, thank you for your time. And we're grateful from IJSS. Thanks.